The Oakland A's are gone. After 57 years, they ditched their crumbling stadium and moved to Las Vegas, leaving behind what might be the worst stadium in MLB history. But why did it come to this? How did a stadium that once hosted dynasties, Hall of Famers, and some of baseball's biggest moments become an empty, sewage-leaking embarrassment? The answer lies in decades of neglect, bad decisions, and an owner who seemed determined to run the team into the ground. To understand how the Coliseum fell apart, let's go back to where it all started. In the late 1950s, Oakland had one mission: to prove it belonged on the big stage. San Francisco had the Giants, Los Angeles had the Dodgers, and if Oakland wanted to keep up, it needed a Major League Baseball team. By 1960, a nonprofit group was formed to make it happen. But getting a stadium built wasn't easy. Years of legal fights, money troubles, and political back and forth delayed the project. Finally, in 1962, construction began. Out of the dust rose the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, a multi-purpose stadium designed to bring big-time sports to the East Bay. When the A's arrived from Kansas City in 1968, they weren't just getting a new home, they were stepping into a city hungry to prove it was big league material. The Coliseum was supposed to be the perfect fix, a stadium built for baseball while also giving Oakland a major sports venue to call its own. At first, it looked like a home run. The A's wasted no time making history, winning 3 straight World Series titles from 1972 to 1974. The team was dominant, the stands were packed, and for a brief moment, the Coliseum felt like the center of the baseball world. But beneath all that success, the cracks were already starting to show.
The community loves the team. There's no reason why it has to go to Las Vegas.
Everyone that's coming today is going to be hardcore. So it's just a chance to have, arguably, maybe our last shot to enjoy the energy of hardcore fans all together. At the same time, we get to send a message to how we feel about how the ownership has treated fans over the last 20 years.
Back in the 60s, multi-purpose stadiums were all the rage, designed to host multiple sports and rake in extra cash. In theory, it was a great idea. In reality, it meant the Coliseum was never quite right for baseball. The biggest issue? Foul territory. It was massive, bigger than any other MLB stadium. Pop-ups that would be souvenirs anywhere else? Easy outs in Oakland. Hitters hated it, and it changed the way games played out. Worse, the layout pushed fans farther from the action, making the place feel lifeless compared to the tight, electric atmospheres of Fenway or Wrigley. The A's kept winning for a while, but the stadium, it was already falling behind. The outfield? Completely forgettable. While other ballparks had iconic features, the Green Monster in Boston, the ivy-covered walls at Wrigley, the Coliseum had nothing. Just a plain, symmetrical outfield with zero personality. And beyond it, a sea of parking lots and industrial buildings. No skyline, no waterfront, no charm. It wasn't great, but for a while, it got the job done. Then came the 1990s, and things went from bad to worse. In 1995, the city greenlit a massive renovation to modernize the Coliseum. Instead, they created one of the biggest architectural disasters in baseball history. The crown jewel of this so-called upgrade? A towering wall of seats in the outfield called Mount Davis, designed to hold more fans. The problem? It was built for football, not baseball. It completely blocked the once beautiful view of the Oakland Hills, turning the stadium into a giant concrete bowl. And to make matters worse, those extra seats? They were almost never used. For decades, entire sections sat empty, covered in green tarps like a bad art project. This $200 million mistake, mostly funded by taxpayers, somehow made the stadium even worse for baseball. The seating became more awkward. The outfield felt cramped, and the Coliseum went from meh to a straight-up eyesore. By the early 2000s, the deterioration was undeniable. What had once been an outdated but functional stadium had now become a punchline. Seats were broken, paint was peeling, and entire sections felt abandoned. The concourses were dark and cramped, with outdated concessions and aging infrastructure that made even basic amenities feel subpar. Then came the plumbing issues. The most infamous incident occurred in 2013 when raw sewage flooded both teams' locker rooms, forcing players to evacuate and share another facility. It was an embarrassing moment for the franchise, but it wasn't an isolated incident. Sewage backups became a recurring problem over the years, with reports of bathrooms overflowing and maintenance failures that made the stadium feel more like a neglected warehouse than a major league venue. Power outages? Yeah, those happened too. Stadium lights flickered and died mid-game, forcing awkward delays. The scoreboard had a mind of its own. Sometimes it showed the wrong score. Sometimes it just quit altogether. And the sound system? A crackling mess that made every announcement sound like it was coming from a busted car radio. And then there was the possum. In 2023, the New York Mets broadcast team got an unexpected guest, a possum scurrying around in the press box. Turns out it had been living there. A's management? They shrugged it off. At this point, the possum was basically a tenant. For A's fans, going to a game at the Coliseum felt less like watching a modern MLB team and more like stepping into a time capsule, one that probably should have been sealed shut years ago. The stadium was crumbling, but the real problem wasn't the concrete, it was the guy in charge. For years, the A's found ways to compete despite tight budgets, but when John Fisher took over as majority owner in 2005, everything changed. Fisher, the billionaire son of Gap founders Donald and Doris Fisher, treated the team like an afterthought. He slashed payroll, refused to invest in players, and ignored the growing list of issues at the Coliseum. By 2023, the A's had the lowest payroll in all of Major League Baseball. The roster was unrecognizable, packed with unproven players and discount signings. Winning clearly wasn't a priority. Fans saw right through it. The Coliseum, already falling apart, became a ghost town. In 2023, the A's averaged fewer than 10,000 fans per game, the lowest in the league. Some nights, it dipped below 3,000, making the place feel more like a minor league park than a major league stadium. But if Fisher thought A's fans would just roll over and accept it, he was in for a surprise. On June 13th, 2023, they staged a reverse boycott, packing the Coliseum with over 27,000 fans to prove that Oakland still cared about baseball. They wore green shirts that read, "Sell the team," and chanted it loud enough for everyone in baseball to hear. The A's even won that night, a small victory in a season filled with losses. Fisher didn't care. While other teams in similar situations fought to stay in their cities, he pushed forward with plans to relocate. Years of failed stadium negotiations in Oakland, at Howard Terminal, at Jack London Square, at the Coliseum site itself had led to this moment. The A's were leaving, and nothing was going to stop it. In April 2023, he made it official. The A's were packing their bags for Las Vegas. By 2024, it was a done deal. No last-minute miracle, no dramatic effort to keep the team in Oakland. Fisher had already lined up a temporary stop in Sacramento while waiting for his shiny, new $1.5 billion stadium in Vegas, set to open in 2028. The final season didn't feel like a farewell tour. It felt like a funeral. Attendance was dismal most nights, but on September 26, 2024, something changed. For one last game, the fans came back. A sold-out crowd of 46,889 filled the Coliseum, not to celebrate Fisher or the move, but to say goodbye to a team that had given them a lifetime of highs, lows, and everything in between. The A's wrapped up their time in Oakland with a 3-2 win over the Texas Rangers, a bittersweet farewell to 57 years of baseball history. But when the final out was called, the game wasn't really over. Fans stayed put, refusing to let go. Some chanted in protest. Others just sat there, staring at the field they'd known their whole lives. And then, just like that, it was done. The stadium that once roared for legends like Reggie Jackson, Rickey Henderson, and Dennis Eckersley stood empty. No more A's, no more Major League Baseball in Oakland for the first time since 1968. So what happens to the Coliseum now? The city's thrown around ideas, maybe a commercial district, maybe tearing it down completely. But without a team to call it home, the future of this once iconic ballpark is up in the air. What do you think about the downfall of the Oakland Coliseum? Was the A's move to Las Vegas inevitable, or could something have been done to save baseball in Oakland? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the world's most fascinating infrastructure projects.